Guys, Chris back with another top-down review, and this is going to be my review for Season 8, Episode 3 of The Walking Dead, entitled Monsters. So, pretty much tonight's episode is pretty much a continuation of what happened last week. We have that whole conflict with Morgan and Jesus still going on. Morgan sort of changing his perspective on not killing and sort of going against Jesus' wishes and wanting to kill the prisoners of saviors that they've kidnapped and everything. And it leads to a pretty badass confrontation between Jesus and Morgan. It was actually one of the more interesting parts of the episode. Then on top of that, you also have Aaron dealing with the loss of Eric, who's now turned into a walker, giving us our very first all-out-war death of the season. The other one is a pretty major one, which we shall see whether or not that one is fulfilled by at least, I would say, maybe the mid-season finale. We'll have to see. But the other plot that goes on is, of course, Morales is back from Season 1 and sort of adds a little bit of drama into the mix. Rick isn't really sure what to think about him actually being a savior. We find out a little bit about his story since we last saw him back in Season 1. The fact that he and his family, I guess, didn't make it to Birmingham, and that he was sort of recruited at one point when he was lost by the Saviors and ended up working for Negan. And I really thought that was an interesting plot point, and how they were able to do that with Morales' character. Although I'm not really sure at this point whether or not he's alive or not, just by the way Daryl shot him with his crossbow. I hope he isn't, because just the way that Morales just showed up out of the blue like that since Season 1 seemed really interesting. On top of that, we also have the conflict with Ezekiel, believing really confidently in his people that they can just go, even though the Saviors know that they're coming outpost by outpost, taking them all out. And sort of that hope is shattered by the end of the episode by the gunman in the window that sort of takes and shatters most of the kingdomers that are standing in the field, and it really sort of lays down a very darker tone for the episode to come. Really, it seemed like these first 3 episodes really just had Rick's group sort of at the advantage point against the Saviors, just like them getting the drop on them and sort of like getting the surprise attack and all that. Where it seems like the next couple of episodes will all be about just the Saviors sort of coming back and being a formidable force in this war. Because the eventual outcome will be one side will win and one side will not. That is the eventual outcome. And whether or not Rick's vision of a happier, peaceful life like we saw in the very first episode of the season will come true, well then that's just something that we'll have to see. But as far as the episode, I love the whole idea of just Morales coming back, though I just didn't. I wanted to be more in that conversation up until Daryl interrupted, but I did get, the Saviors were breaking into the outpost and Rick and him had to go, but I mean, I wanted to see more of Morales and everything. Definitely the Morgan subplot was also one of my favorite elements, just the whole idea of just when we first saw him again back in Season 6 with that one episode, which I really like, with Eastman and, learning Aikido and everything and just becoming like this figure of non-violence, and now going back to his original form of violence and now wanting to just kill the Saviors just to get even, just like Tara and everything. Makes for an interesting idea to go forward into the season. But yeah, hopefully we will get some more Negan in the next episode. We'll see, since we haven't gotten any since the first episode. But the way I feel that The Walking Dead sort of does is that there's a lot of filler when you're dealing with a large story like All Out War, you're trying to savor those itty bitty comic book moments that they want to fill in the gaps to, because they want to make it exactly right, which is kind of what they did back in season 7. They gave us some great comic book moments. The only problem is in between those great comic book moments were a lot of episodes of filler just to put in to getting there. And it just seems like that's the tone that season 8 is going. But hopefully by next episode it should pick up. But not that I say that season 8 is bad by any means. I mean, I'm very much looking forward to how the All Out War story will progress going forward. But let me know what you guys thought about season 8, episode 3, Monsters, and where you think the next episode will take us. So, I am Chris, this is Lucille, and I will see you in my next video. Adios.